I'm Caitlin Hsu with Washington Square News. I'm here with musician Will Wood. Will, so you obviously have a lot of thoughts about social media and its effects on the current generation. Do you want to start by talking about that?
I think that we're in a lot of trouble. And I think that at the moment we're still in this stage where we are starting to feel comfortable criticizing social media a little bit, but we still do so through a similar lens of like when somebody kind of, I don't know, admonishes themselves a little bit for their smoking habit. And it's just like, oh, it's a nasty habit, but I can't quit. Like that seems to be the most that we're able to really say about social media right now is, yeah, I can't seem to put my phone down. And it's like, I think we need to start shifting the conversation from personal responsibility to recognizing that there are major corporations who need to be held responsible for their extraordinarily predatory behavior. And I think that people, they don't want to hear it because of the same reason that people want to bury their heads in the sand with like, using the smoking metaphor. It's like we need to stop just going like, I need to quit smoking and start being like, hey, the tobacco companies are systematically murdering tens of thousands of people around the world every year. So it's like, we need to start talking about the fact that there are children killing themselves because of what those companies are doing to them. Their feeds that they encounter online are custom tailored to manipulate them based on surveillance done on them on a massive scale. And this isn't the casual evil we make it out to be. This isn't some, unfortunate side effect of social media that we're kind of a little bit messed up over it. It is, it's genuine supervillainry. It's honest to goodness, pure, unadulterated global evil that is being very intentionally used to manipulate people. It is very intentionally designed to mess people up. People developing self-image issues or bizarre worldviews after being, pushed into an echo chamber or just being exposed to predatory advertising. When people start developing these emotional issues as a result of going on social media, that's not a side effect. That's the point. That's what it's designed to do. It's not designed to provide a service. It's not designed to help you connect with people. Because these things are designed to hijack your neurochemistry to make you as angry and wrong about everything as possible. And the fact that children are allowed to just go on these websites unsupervised, to just be predated upon by these massive companies for hours at a time, days at a time, and have that be the entirety of their social life is a genuine, it's like a neurochemical global catastrophe. It's going to destroy people. There's going to be so much work that has to be done in young people's early adulthood to undo the damage that will do. And I think that people need to start talking about how these companies, one, they need to be held accountable. They need to be, there need to be some laws passed as to what you're allowed to do with your algorithms.
This is something that you've kind of seen firsthand, as despite your obvious vitriol for social media, a lot of your fan base actually has discovered your music through TikTok and other social media platforms, and you've seen the way that for example, your song I Me Myself was kind of, misinterpreted by people on social media. So how do you reconcile your distaste for social media with the fact that so many people discovered your music through it?
I don't. Obviously, I'm grateful for any support that I get, and I hope that my material can connect with people and people can connect with it on whatever grounds that they do. So it's like, I hate the platforms. I certainly don't hate the users. I think that people who find my stuff on TikTok, it's like, cool. That's like, I don't know, it's like making good friends at your local opium den. It's like, all right, cool. I'm glad you made new friends. You did it because you were addicted to opium. But, hey, once you two clean up, maybe you can still be buddies. I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is like, friendship's great. opium den's maybe not the place to hang out. All I can do is just, work and be grateful for the support that I get. I just hope that maybe the reach that I have gotten as a result of all that can help me reach out to the world with a message that I think I really want to share. That if one kid deletes TikTok off his phone because I said something, then hell yeah.
So on the subject of mental health, your upcoming album, it is called In Case I Make It. It used to be called In Case I Die, but you said that you found a reason to hope despite everything, and so you changed the title. I was wondering if you could talk about what inspired this hope.
I may have made a mistake changing that album title, so I'm not a superstitious person by any means, but I am a very anxious person, and I was a musician who had just turned 27, was suddenly experiencing a significant amount more attention than I'd ever had at the height of a pandemic while dealing with some serious psychiatric health issues. And I was like, I'm gonna die. The stars are aligning. Everywhere I look, it's like there are just signs being shared to me by the cosmos that I'm doomed, which is nonsense. I don't really think that way. But when you start getting into a certain cycle, it got to a point where I was, just wandering around my neighborhood, like having like these panic attacks. And anytime I couldn't sleep at night. I was afraid to, because some primeval or primordial part of my brain was telling me, don't close your eyes at night. In the dark is where the danger lurks. Sleep during the day, and just peer through the Venetian blinds on your window for hours at a time, because I'm sure that, the NSA or the Nazis or some crazed fan is going to come and murder you any day now. I was out of my gourd, man. I ended up, my psychiatrist prescribed an antipsychotic for the first time, some like atypical antipsychotic that scared the hell out of me. And she was like, listen, just take it. It's a fast-acting one. Just let me know. Just call me if you grow tits and die in your sleep. It's like, it was not good. And I really thought that there was a good chance I wasn't going to make it. And ultimately what happened is I turned 28. That's it, is that just this one last piece of constant paranoia that was so stupid and so not how I look at the world just switched. And I guess maybe that's just, obviously a whole bunch of other things had to get better too, but that was kind of, I think, like the last thing that got me out was like, okay, I turned 28 and I didn't die. Maybe the universe isn't talking to me and trying to tell me that I'm going to join the infamous 27 Club or something. Ultimately, I didn't get better. Like, I turned 28 and I got better to a certain extent, sure, but that was because of a million different things, not actually because I turned 28.
The tour is still called In Case I Die.
Yeah, it's for different reasons. The tour is, I'm going to be filming the tour, and if it goes well, making a little concert film and potential live album out of it called In Case I Die. Because, basically the original name, and I guess was the point that I never got to, was based on the idea that I had started to develop this new level of notoriety, and it was all based on this character who I haven't played in a long time, and based on this version of myself who I had to fight tooth and nail to get away from. And I was now known for being somebody who I had to survive being, and loved for being that person who you never saw behind the scenes. You don't know what that was like. And like, don't get me wrong, I can't expect people to. They see silly psychedelic, gay clown and go like, I love this guy, he's hilarious, and this is the, all of these songs are, goofy and wacky and weird, and I like that, and cool. I'm glad you like it, you know. But I never got a chance, I feel, to put my most authentic self out there. Not that there was no authenticity in my previous work, of course, but, you know, I wanted to put out something that was, you know, truly authentic to the point of it being risky, you know, in case I died. And so, you know, it was kind of like, here's my final confession, that kind of thing. And I guess, like, you know, that's still kind of the theme of the record, and it's the theme of the tour. You know, I still wanted to call something in case I die.
So this album, you've said, is going to be your most personal yet, and you're sort of not only reinventing yourself as an artist, but as a person. What exactly does that mean?
Yeah, I've had to do a lot of work on myself in order to become at least closer to the person who I want or even need to be, you know, and not just for personal reasons, you know, but for the well-being of people close to me as well. And I felt like I had to, you know, improve myself. I had to, you know, do some difficult and rigorously honest internal work, and it's you know, that's been a whole thing, and I guess the new material is kind of, a lot of that is kind of about that journey of going from the person who wrote the songs on my last record to the person who wrote the songs on this one, because it has been the kind of journey that I can't honestly and authentically turn into a bunch of, you know, goofy songs about Buddhism and suicide. You know, it's like I wanted to express it honestly and be real, because I guess, I don't know, I felt like that was, I don't know, just like, that was the honest thing to do. You know, I'm never going to be the responsible media creator that I know you're supposed to be these days. If there is a responsibility I have, I think it's to be honest as an artist, and to express honestly, because I have a perspective that is, and not just a perspective, but a lived experience that is unique to myself. And I know I have felt so alone, so stupidly, embarrassingly, I can't believe these words are coming out of my mouth, alone, throughout the majority of my life. And if I've had these experiences that have made me feel those ways, then, you know, I want to reach out and kind of say to the world, hey, is there anybody else out there who really feels like I do? And then offer the people who say, yeah, me, maybe, I don't know, some sense that they aren't as alone as I have feared that I have been.
And so do you see the person that you were on Everything Is a Lot and Selfish and the Normal album, do you see those as like different characters you've played or different iterations of who you are now?
They were just myself in different parts of my life, you know. Everything Is a Lot is very much my late teens to early 20s, you know. That's where the songs come from. I think that's kind of who they reflect. And the record shortly following it that I put out just the next year, Selfish, is me freshly sober and unmedicated for the first time, you know, feeling my mentally ill feelings for the first time ever and freaking out. And then the next record is, you know, kind of that, you know, kind of, I guess, chronicles that period of my life through when I started getting psychiatric help. So, like, they are almost from the perspective of different characters, but ultimately, I think, no, they're just different versions of myself throughout the years, none of whom I still am. And that doesn't mean that I disavow my previous releases or anything. It's just, you know, I'm growing. And I think that, like, if an artist looks back on his discography and goes like, yeah, I'm not that guy anymore, I think that that's probably a good sign. It means that he's growing as a human being.
So the new song, Tomcat Disposables, it's coming out April 29th, and it's in a style that's probably going to be kind of unexpected for your fans. It's more folksy and down to earth. I don't know if you can call a song down to earth. And there's no crazy medical terminology or anything. So is that the kind of style that we can expect from the rest of the album?
It's interesting. I've written plenty of folky tunes in the past and plenty of songs in major keys, and even some love ballads, and or at least a love ballad, I don't know. But I guess my point is, I think it's just people notice the over-the-top spooky stuff a bit more because it kind of jumps out at you. And so I think people just kind of think of that as being, my sound. But I've written in a lot of different styles, and I think that if people are expecting my music to stop, if people are expecting my music to stay the same, I don't know why, because I've kind of switched genres with every song that I've put out. And so, that being said, I think that there is a relatively coherent or cohesive spectrum of sounds that I'm using on this record that are previously not sounds that I've really worked with. No. And this is, a lot of these songs were written on guitar or ukulele as opposed to on piano, and a lot of them were written in a very different manner. The way that I write these days is very different from what it used to be, because back in the day when I was writing the songs on my previous releases, I was wildly unstable, unmedicated, not very far into therapy, not doing great, and so I'd freak out. I'd have these moments where I have my meltdowns, and I'd sit down at the piano and like smash it with my, hands and scream, and then 2 hours later there'd be a song. Whereas nowadays, writing is a much more sort of slow-paced, contemplative sort of process. And the sounds reflect that. They're much more, I don't know how to put it, but it's also not as mired in showboatiness or grandiosity. It's not as over the top, and I think that it is folkier, and it is definitely less wild and wacky. But I think that it's more original than a lot of my previous work, I have to say. But that being said, I also originality was never my goal. It was just honesty with this one. Was just, what do I want to make, and what do I want to say, and how effectively can I make it and say it? And it had nothing to do with any goals for, how I don't know. It wasn't as, it's not as ego driven, and it's not as fantastical, and it's just kind of, I don't know. I'm just kind of, I tried just enjoying the process of challenging myself as an artist and making something that was authentic.